Hey guys, I'm Abby and this is my channel. So since we are getting further into the spring and really close to summer, it's really starting to heat up here in Texas, but recently all of the schools have been let out. So it really got me thinking about, back in the past when I was still in school. I remember a lot of summer reading projects that I sometimes had to do, whether in high school or in college, especially in high school. But it also got me thinking a lot about the books that you do have to read throughout high school in your English classes, and I thought it'd be great to kind of go over which books I actually enjoyed reading then, because I know there were some that I had to read during the summer or during the school year. I remember reading some that I really did like, and then I remember reading some that I really did not like. But today I thought I would go over some that I really did like. I would probably read again and still enjoy. Some of them I have read again. So maybe if you want to do some summer reading, go back and reread some of these books that you read in school kind of as an option, or maybe pick up some books that you had to or are very common school books to read and give them a try if you didn't read them, or like me with some of them, I was supposed to read them and didn't actually get around to it, which I think a lot of kids do. They just kind of skim the book or read Spark Notes to get an idea of the book but don't actually end up reading the book. But I think I have 8 or 9 books on my list of ones that I had to read in school and actually enjoyed, and some of them are actually ones I might have not enjoyed in school but I've reread them since and enjoyed them, or they were those ones that I kind of didn't read but now I've gone back and actually read them. And some of the books I'll show you are actually the books I owned in school and have kept all these years. It's been almost 10 years since I graduated high school, so some of these books I've had for a while. Probably read a few of these or was supposed to read a few of these. But also in the description box I'll put down like a Goodreads list of books that are very popular and well known to be read within school. I didn't read all of these, of course. Different schools and districts and such choose different books that they're supposed to read, and I think they change throughout the years too. I'm gonna go over the books that I like that I had to read during school, and maybe you can try them out too if you didn't have to read them. So the first, I'm actually going to mention 2 books that are written by the same author first. One of them I did read in school and I loved it, still really enjoy it. And then the other one is a well-known book to be read during school, which we didn't actually read it, but I've since read it and enjoy it. And that is both books by George Orwell, and that's 1984 and Animal Farm. We read 1984 in high school, and I remember really enjoying it, just kind of like this dystopia story with Big Brother and the things that go on with kind of like the brainwashing and all that. It was very interesting to me. I know a lot of people who didn't like it in my class, but it was one of the books I actually did enjoy reading. And I think this is the copy I had back then. But since then, I have read Animal Farm. We didn't have to read this in school, but I also really liked it. It's kind of based off communism and kind of the USSR back then, and goes against like the theory of that kind of government with the take of farm animals and who's running the farm. But yeah, George Orwell is kind of one of the authors that I really like, that I learned through school and still enjoy. So maybe give one of these a try. One I did have to read in school, one I did not, but I liked both of them. But one of the book assignments I did not mind having to read during school. Another book that's very similar, kind of George Orwell's writing, has been compared to it too. I don't actually have a physical copy of it, but I do remember reading it within school, and that is A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I think we had books given out to us, and that's why I don't own a copy, but I remember also really enjoying this book. It's very dystopian, similar to 1984, but in very different kind of ways. You have this like savage man go into this very different world and learn all the different ways of the developed people, and kind of falls in love with one of the characters. But it does give a dystopic world, kind of like in 1984. I've actually watched a video on YouTube here that compares the 2 books. I'll try to find it and link it up above, whichever side, but it's a great discussion of kind of the 2 books and the 2 dystopias that these authors came up with, and how some parts actually came true, or how some parts could come true. It's a very interesting conversation, and both are really great books that I did read in high school and that I still enjoy today. Next, I am going to mention an author that I had to read a couple different things from in school, but unlike George Orwell, I only liked some of his writings. One of the books that we did did read that I did enjoy was A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. I have read other of his books and short stories, but I haven't enjoyed as much. I think for me at least, I have to have like a lot of explanation of Ernest Hemingway's writings to kind of like fully understand it, and that's one of the reasons why I liked this, because we did read it while in class and my teacher helped explain it a lot, and kind of the metaphors and kind of hidden meanings Ernest can put into his writing. But this is one of his writings that I actually did enjoy. And then this is the copy I had in school. You can see just kind of in the front cover I have my annotations from class, and throughout the book I have highlightings and stuff. So this was the copy I had in school. I haven't read the book since being in school, but I do hope to eventually get back to reading it again. I have read some of his other books and not enjoyed them since reading this one, but I still think I will like this even a second go around. So a little different than George Orwell, where I read his books and liked them, and read other books and liked them. Well, with Hemingway, we read and I liked this one, but with his other ones, wasn't so as much. I think maybe I just liked the story within this novel a little bit more. But yeah, kind of a little different, where I liked only one book of the author and not really the others. But this is the one of the ones we had to read while I was in school. So the next book I'm going to mention is kind of one of those books that we read in school, but I actually did not end up reading it. I think I read maybe a couple of chapters and then just hit the like summaries for the rest of the book just to, you know, pass the like test and quizzes. But I've actually since school reread this book because it is my sister's favorite book and she read it in school too. But that is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. And this is not the copy I had while in school, but like I said, I did reread this recently and enjoyed it now. But yeah, I don't know, I could never really get into it. We had to read it for school. It just wasn't my kind of book back then, but since I have reread it and I really enjoyed it, and I understand why my sister loved it so much when she read it in school. I think it's been her favorite book since she read it in high school. So I can easily see why this is actually liked by a lot of people, whether they have to read it in school or not. I do find it kind of funny that I ended up going to college in Alabama, where Harper Lee is from, and kind of where this story is based. I didn't have to read it at college, but it was one of the books I didn't actually end up reading in high school, but ended up going to college where Harper Lee's from. So To Kill a Mockingbird is one of those books I would suggest maybe going back to if you didn't like, or you skimmed over like I did. I wouldn't say it's one of my top favorites, but I definitely did really enjoy it. I think I gave it a 5 stars on Goodreads when I did finish it. So the next book is a story we read, I think, when I was in my last year of high school, and it quickly became one of my favorites that I read during my whole time in school. And I actually still have the copy that we read, and that is A Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. You can see here that I have like my notes, and then this one is very detailed in my annotations. I tried really hard on this book during my English class, but I really did enjoy reading this while in school. I haven't reread it since, but I think I might sometime soon. I'm just debating whether I need to go buy a clean copy because there is so much writing within my copy that I have, but I definitely will keep this in my, you know, library collection for many years. But I do remember while in school hearing about the older kids who read this book and really didn't like it, and so when I got my turn to read it and actually took the time to go through it, I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the story of Hester Prynne and all the kind of scenery and almost historical references within this story that Hawthorne puts in. So yeah, this is one I had to read in school, and I plan on rereading soon, but just haven't got around to it, but I really enjoyed. So this one I really suggest if you're looking for kind of a school read to either go back over or to give a try that you didn't have to read. I would suggest The Scarlet Letter. So the next books I'm going to mention are actually plays, and they're by the same author. If you watched other videos on my channel, you'll know I do a whole week on this author, but they are very known books to read while in school. It's kind of the first introduction to a lot of people, but the ones I have here are Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, and like many people, school was kind of the first introduction of Shakespeare for me, but I also kind of was introduced in different ways outside of school. But I did first read Hamlet while in my English classes and fell in love with it. But I think it also helped that, you know, the adaptation of The Lion King based off of Hamlet was kind of one of my favorite movies as a kid. So it helped me be more inclined to like Shakespeare. But I know these two are very popular within English classes to be read kind of as the introductions for Shakespeare for kids. There are many other Shakespeare plays that schools pick to read, but these are kind of the two most common. Of course, I highly recommend any Shakespeare to read, or if you don't want to read them, definitely go see them in person. You can pick up a lot even without really knowing the words, or watch a movie adaptation. But I think at least one play of Shakespeare is read throughout all the US in English classes, just because he is such a big influence on the English language in novels and plays and so on. But yeah, I obviously recommend these a lot just because of my love of Shakespeare now. It definitely was started a lot in high school when I had to read these, but you don't have to pick one of these if you want to go back to school books to read. You can definitely pick any of the other famous or well-known ones that schools pick. I know the list I'm going to link down below from Goodreads has these two plus a lot more on them if you want to pick one of those to read. So the last book I'm going to mention is kind of a funny story because I did have to read it my last year of high school, but when we had to read it for class, it was actually, I think, my third time reading this book. And also this book is very well known just in general, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I think the first time I read this book I was in middle school, and so by the time I had to read it in high school, it was about, I think it was like my third or fourth time reading it, and it's still today one of my favorite books. So obviously I'm going to recommend it, especially if you weren't one of the ones who had to read it in high school. But I remember reading the syllabus and seeing that this was one of the books we had to read for class and being like, well, that's going to be easy for me. I've already read this book a couple times. And I can't remember if this is actually the copy I had when I read it in school. This is one of my older copies, but I don't have any like annotations and stuff in it. But I don't think I would actually write in it even if I had to for class. Maybe I had a different copy that I turned in, but definitely one of the easiest assignments of reading that I had while I was in school. But I can't remember if this was actually one I had to read during the summer or that we read during the school year. I just remember seeing it and being like, piece of cake. I know this book. But definitely recommend if you want to read a school book or just any book in general, especially a classic. I always recommend Jane Austen, but Pride and Prejudice is my favorite of hers and probably my all-time favorite book of anything. So can't recommend this one enough. So there you go. There are like 8 or 9 books that I had to either read in school or are very common books for people to read within school that you can try out. These are all the ones that I liked either when I read them or coming back to them and rereading them. So if you're looking for a book that has a more academic feel to them, there are definitely a lot of resources on the internet or at bookstores that you can use to go along with these books. Definitely kind of improve your reading comprehension and kind of understand themes and such better. Or if you just want a book that you can use for a book club, academic books are very good for that. I know we use To Kill a Mockingbird in our book club. There are questions and such online that you can get for these books since they are used so much in school. Like I said, there are a bunch of resources for you to use with these books if you want something like that. But these are also books that are just really well known and liked, even if people had to read them within school. Let me know down below if you read any of these books and if you liked them or still like some of them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and hopefully check out some of these books if you did not already read them, or perhaps they'll encourage you to revisit them. But I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, if you want to be someone, why not be you? Bye guys.